Now let's have a look at the first part of using an iPhone 11 and Affinity Photo to do raw photography. Now the app I want to use here is not the normal camera but ProCam, which does raw photography, native on the iPhone 11 anyway. Now here I am, and you can see in the bottom left hand side there raw is selected. Now I'll just take a photo with this, and there it goes. It's saved it in the Apple Photos segment as a raw file. Now when we come to edit that in a moment, you'll see how very easy this is. Not edit on the screen, mind you, but edit in Affinity Photo. Now continuing right along with editing photos, raw file photos in Affinity Photo, let's call it Affinity Photo for Road Warriors. Now we're on the main screen here, and you can see that I've got a couple of images in Affinity, not in Apple Photos, sorry. Now there's one we just took when I was out on the road, JPEG and RAW. You can see in the top left hand corner there it says JPEG and RAW. But at the moment we're not going to try and edit on here. There's a collection of images I've taken. So we'll get back out of that because what we want to open is Affinity Photo. Now I want to open Affinity Photo and pull in some images, recent images, and there we go. Now you can see the one we took when I was on the road in the first video shot, and that's the RAW file. You can see it's RAW. The first one on the left there is not RAW because that's just a screen grab of the iPad I'm working on. All the others you can see there, they come up in Affinity Photo as RAW files. That's because the little camera I used on my iPhone 11 takes RAW photos. Let's have a look at that and bring it up. Loading from Photos. Now because it goes up to the iCloud, when I was out on the road I took that photo with iPhone 11. Now look at that. This is a very misty morning and that's showing up perfectly. You can see at the top it says RAW file, iPhone 11, back camera. That's very small print, 4.25 millimeters, and so on. ISO 80, f-stop 1.8, and 1/121 seconds, 1/120th of a second. Okay, so let's do some basic editing on that. The first one, basics, you see there. I've got histogram, exposure. Is that a little bit overexposed? Perhaps it is. Let's adjust that slightly. There we go. Bring up the black point a little bit. So we're darkening the photo and removing the haze. Just take the brightness down a little bit. Enhance the contrast just a touch, 6%. Clarity. Bring the clarity up to 11%. Saturation. Now we can be careful with saturation. We can go negative or positive. You can see that's washing out the colours. So let's wash out the colours slightly because it is still a misty morning. Vibrance. Pull the vibrance up to 14%. Now let's have a look at the white balance. White balance we've set to on, and that's cleared it slightly, but in the trees in the far background you can still see a little bit of the fog haze. Do we want to bring the temperature up or down? You can see going down reduces it, makes it look very cold. Too hot. Oh no, it's a very cold morning, so let's take it down to 5013 Kelvin. It's quite cold out there. We'll leave the tint at 2%. Shadows and highlights, well there's not a lot there to work with, but we'll just bring up the shadows slightly to 16%. Bring up the highlight. Now let's have a look at the before and after. That's the split. You can see lower center of the screen there. Just tap that. There's the before and after. We can move that line. There's the before shot. There's the after shot. So it's a much neater shot. Is that all you need for when you're on the road and you need to get an image back? Sure, that'll do fine. Let's get rid of the split altogether and we'll develop that photo. Now there's the photo developed. You can do all sorts of things with that. There it is there, and it's locked. Now if we were going to continue to edit this, we can make a duplicate and get rid of the old one. We can go and find, let's see, the paintbrush tool. No. What are we after? Clone brush. We want the Inpainting brush. It's that one there. The pixel width. See in the center of the screen you can see the circle coming out there. That's a big circle. Let's make the circle about that big, because what I'm going to have a look at here, hardness, we'll just leave the hardness and flow. Opacity is probably a bit much. Let's reduce the opacity to, say, 50, 60, 57, 54, there's 50. And the flow the same, because if you have opacity and flow too high, they blank out far too much of the image too quick. So let's see if we can get the full image here. And you can see that's not rubbing out too quickly. The post is slowly disappearing. Which is what we want. Nothing like forgetting to turn off the Do Not Disturb sign. Let's have a look and see what happens if we bring the opacity up and the flow rate up. And that's slowly working its way down the post. And as if by magic, you can see the brickwork appearing behind the post. Which I think really is magic. Okay, now I'm going to leave it at that because we don't want to spend all day doing this. Let's get our main screen back. We'll go back up to there. And that's the end of it. That's how you can edit, take photos, edit the photos, develop the photos, and have them all stored in Apple Photos. Now we'll go to Export, and we'll put, it's just generating the export. I've got it set to PNG there. Let's just share it, save the image, and it saves the image without necessarily exporting it back to the camera roll. Or, let's give it a name here, ADJUSTED, adjusted street shot, just so I know what it is. Click return, click OK, adjusted street shot. We'll put it in downloads where I can find it really easily. Let's hop out of that. Let's get out of that. Go back to photos, and there it is in photos. Look at that. The adjusted image. And you can see, you know for a fact it is, because the post on the left-hand side is slowly disappearing. That's as far as we got with inpainting and removing it. Now, it's still showing it's quite a foggy day, but it's quite a different image to the original one we took, which is that one. Now, which did the better job? The camera or me? But that's how it works. Let's get back out of that, and we're back to there. So, thanks very much for watching.